Yeah, that's what I wanted to do from day one, but I was too shy to do it by myself. So I wanted this guy to be.
But also, I mean, with my social anxiety, it's hard to go to restaurant after restaurant and meet these new people. I think I could do it now.
Yeah.
But it's too late. People are
it's funny because like this show, being on the show and forcing myself to do something that I didn't want to do, which was be in front of the camera, it gave me way more confidence. Like I was the kind of person that I was the last one to stand up in public speaking class to read my piece because I'm like, all right, because the teacher would be like, all right, I'm not going to call on you guys. I want you guys to just volunteer to be next, to come on up there. I'm like, all right, I don't want to be the last person. I'm just going to just get up and say, I'll go next. She goes, okay, who's next? And I'm like, all right, do it, Chris, do it. And I just like,
oh my God, I know
of course, I'm the very last one. I'm like, oh man, I hated it. I was so afraid to speak in front of and then forcing myself in front of the camera on this channel kind of forced me to do that. Like, and the alternative was, when you left the show or when you weren't as available anymore as I wanted you to be, my alternative was like, Chris, grow up and do this, or you're going to lose everything you worked hard for and it's all gone. So I'm like, I don't want that. I don't want that to happen. So I got in front of the camera. I was really nervous. I spent about 8 hours filming that video and another 8 hours editing it because I hated the way I looked. I hated the way I sounded, and I still do. I'm just okay with it. No,
you kind of get used to it.
Yeah. Like now I'm like, I see all these problems. I'm like, oh, I hate this. I'm like, who cares? Upload. I'll do another video.
Yeah.
Like,
better luck next time.
Yeah, exactly. But back then, my first video, I uploaded it, and I literally had my hand on the mouse, like, nervous, like, okay, the first negative comment I get, I'm deleting this whole video, I was like...
Wait, is this the tofu one?
Yeah, okay. Yeah, and I was mortified, and all of a sudden, I'm getting all these, like, really good comments, and the video became, like, I think it's the second or third most viewed video I have, and I'm like, holy wow, and then I started doing more and more, and then it gave me the confidence to get up there and speak in public. Because the first time I had to speak in public, I was with you, so you were like there to make me feel better, but I was so nervous. Like I'm walking back and forth. I'm like, don't anybody talk to me. I'm trying to like memorize what I got to say. And that was a bad idea. And we went up there. We were in Toronto, and we went up there in front of everybody. And I'm like, John, you got to introduce us because I can't. Like, and John's great in front, or you used to be good in front of people.
No, I could fake it. I just couldn't. There was a point where I'm like,
I think that's what I did at first. I tried to fake it until I was like okay with it because I froze up in front of a whole crowd of people. Like I didn't like it was bad. It was like one of those worst. It was like a dream, a bad dream. And I'm up there, and John turned it over to me, and I'm like, "Hey everybody, I'm Chris, and I created the Vegan Zombie." And I just started looking at everybody, and everyone's looking at me, and I didn't know what to say, and I'm like. And it was awkward. It was like 1, 2, 3, and it was like way longer than 10 seconds, way longer than 15 seconds. I just kind of turned around and I looked at John. I'm like, John, what do I say? And he's like, I don't know, man. And I was like, because I wanted him to save me, and there was nothing. And like finally, I basically in my head I failed, and then like John started talking, and then I started talking again, and I was perfect the rest of the thing. Because in my head I already failed, so I was like, I can't get any worse. So like, I was good the rest of the speech, and it was kind of like I compare that when I went to get my driver's license. I was 17 when I went for my driver's license, and I had to take the test. And I'm like all nervous, and I get in my car. I'm like, I don't want to like flunk this. I'm so nervous. And he goes, all right, whenever you're ready, pull away from the curb and let's go. And I pull away from the curb, and he's like, you didn't put your signal on. And I'm like, oh my God, I failed. So the rest of the test, I was mad at myself. I'm like, I can't believe it. This was my big day, and I failed it. And I wasn't nervous anymore because I already knew I failed. So I did everything else perfect, and I parallel park perfect. And then I come back, and he goes, well, you didn't put your blinker on at the beginning, but you did everything else perfect, so I'm going to have to pass you, but you got to remember to put your blinker on when you take, and I'm like, oh my God, I passed. So that's pretty much what happened, and then after that, I just kind of like got to the point where I have a very good mind over matter. I have really good willpower, and I always have, so I feel like your mind is so powerful if you want it to be. You're the only one that can make your own decisions, like, not everybody's going to agree with me, but I feel like only you can make those decisions to help yourself. Even if you go to get help, no one can help you unless you're like, all right, I want to be helped, or I want to help myself, or I want to change certain things. So with that mind over matter, like, I mean, that's pretty much like, I don't think anything of it, but people are like, how did you never do alcohol? How are you like, how do you not want to like, eat this or eat that? Or why do you're not even curious to being drunk? And I'm like, this is me. Like, I'm not going to give in to peer pressure. This is who I am, And the same thing, I told myself, I'm like, look, I need to get up there and people want me, because people started asking me, hey, will you do a presentation at this Veg Fest? And you were like, so you had so much anxiety. You're like, sorry, dude, I can't go. And I'm like, that's all right. I was just inviting you to go with me. But, if you can't, you can't. But I'm still doing it. And I went, the first one I did by myself was down in New York City in front of like my biggest crowd yet, And I had to go speak in front of a big crowd. And I knew I was nervous. But what I told myself was, and I hate to be rambling, but I'm trying to show you how I got through this because I know it's a problem for a lot of people. But I told myself, I said, look, Chris, you're just as good as anybody else in this world. Just because somebody's famous or somebody's like a public speaker, that doesn't make somebody better than another person. Everybody's equal. You're all the same. Like, don't feel like you're inferior. Go up there and tell your story. And there's nobody better to tell your story than you. I'm like, I'm the best one to tell my story to people that want to listen. If somebody doesn't want to listen, they don't have to listen. And I also told myself this, and I know that's kind of funny, but for me, it worked. I'm like, Chris, in 100 years or 150 years from now, I mean, I really have like goals I want to live forever, but like 150 years from now, nobody's even going to know who you are. This is your time, here and now. Go up there and tell your story while you're here, while you're on this earth. This is your time. Do it, So I went up there and I had the confidence, and I got up there and I did it. And I was like, when I was done, Ryan from Dandy's came up to me, Chicago Vegan Foods. He's like, dude, he's like, puts his arm on my back. He's like, that was amazing. I never knew your story. It's really interesting. And wow, you nailed that. I didn't know that about you. Cause I think I come across as like quiet and reserved when I meet people. But then I got up there and I told, I did my presentation, and like, that made me feel good. I'm like, wow, I nailed it, And it gave me the confidence to do more and more and more. And I've done so many since then by myself without having like somebody there with me. And like, I found the best thing to do is not to try to memorize anything. Like, I'll go to a presentation like I did at the Veg Fest in Syracuse, not knowing even what I was going to say. And then also it was my time to get up there, and I just went up there. And I went with it. My mom, like, normally if it was like 10, 20 years ago, I would have been mortified and embarrassed at what she did,
Yeah.
But I'm giving a presentation, and I'm doing a presentation in front of, I don't know, probably 100 people.
Yeah.
Around there. My mom comes up to me. I'm like, it was a part where I put a bunch of spinach in my skillet. And I'm like, you got to improvise in a zombie apocalypse because I don't have a cover to put over this. And my mom walks up and she goes, here, just put this bowl over it. And then she walks away, and I'm like, that was my mom. Thanks, Mom. And I just went with it. It's funny. But if I was younger, I would have been like so embarrassed. Mom. First of all, I wouldn't have been up there in the first place. Anyway, end of rant.